Welcome to the Real Recovery Show. We are every Friday at noon, and we're so happy that you can join us. Every week we have a different topic. Sometimes we interview people. Sometimes we just dig into a topic that we've had to learn a lot ourselves about in recovery. I'm the kind of person that I really want to understand. Like, I just don't want to say a slogan. I don't want to just, like it's some magical incantation that it's going to make everything okay and I'm going to be on some pink cloud. I want to really, really understand it. And over time, there have been different slogans in recovery at different points in my recovery that have been so helpful that I want to share what I've learned about each of these. That people shared with me to help me to know, how to apply these tools, these little nuggets, these little affirmations that could save my life, that could talk me off of the ledge, that could stop me from using drugs or alcohol, that could make me have a shift in perception before I say or write something that I can't take back, and how to maybe even get more self-forgiveness and more tolerance for other people, and how to stay more focused on what it is that I really need to be focused on in recovery. But before we start, I want to just let you know that my dog is here in the studio, and so it's quite possible that you're going to see at least part of his face, because when he sits up, the microphone kind of blocks him, so you might just see the microphone with like a tongue hanging, and so I don't want you to go, what is going on? You know. So, and I'm joined here, of course, with Tay Singer.
Hi.
So, and we're both going to talk about our experience with different slogans, different sayings in recovery. There's so many. There are the ones that you might find in a 12-step meeting on a wall, and then there are ones that just get said, and then there are ones that get kind of shared through literature and stuff like that people read in different types of recovery and rehabs and support groups and online and in daily meditation books from Hazelden. There's just so many really cool tools, little tidbits that could help anybody, not just people, especially not just people who have had addiction or PTSD or codependency or anything in their life, but are spiritual sayings that could be applied to anybody, anywhere, and can only be helpful. And so whether you yourself identify as an alcoholic or an addict, whether or not you're codependent, whether or not you're concerned with someone else and their addictions, whether or not you're going through something and you may be confused and you don't know, we hope that today at least a few of these slogans can be immediately implemented in your life to help you to have just a little bit more peace and a little bit more clarity and maybe some more empowerment. And so the first one we're going to talk about is one day at a time, which is the most popular saying in recovery, but you'll hear normies, people who are not identified as an alcoholic or an addict, say one day at a time too. And another version of it is just for today. And way back in the beginning of these episodes, I did an episode on New Year's Eve and about resolutions, about wanting to, think a whole year in advance and all the things that we're planning to do, and how in recovery we learn to let go of all this pressure on ourselves and learn to live in day-tight compartments, one day at a time. And I have found that, initially it helps me to stay sober, right? Because I think, oh my God, I'm going to have to not drink for the rest of my life. I'm going to have to not use drugs for the rest of my life. I quit smoking. I'm never going to be able to have a cigarette again. Like, whatever it was that was my addiction or affliction, I'm not going to be able to do this for the rest of my life. Like, how can I possibly do that? How can I possibly? And so people who have been in recovery for a while will say, relax. You don't need to do that. You just need to do it just for today. Right. And one day at a time. And it becomes 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time, when it's stressful, when it's hard, and what seems to be something specifically to help us initially in recovery to stop drinking or doing drugs or whatever the behavior is, it actually goes deeper and deeper and deeper, because it becomes something that becomes our inner mantra, to help us get centered again, to recognize that, just for today I have a roof over my head, or just for today I have all the things that I need, and I'm not going to try to tackle everything at once, and I don't know what the future is going to be, and it teaches us what we all need to learn, whether we have addiction or not, which is to be mindful, which is to be present, which is to be patient, which is to get out of the story of the who we think we are, and the how we think it needs to be, and the how we think they need to behave, and the what we think we need to have. One day at a time brings us back into the center, back into this moment. And I like to say I'm on a need-to-know basis, and if you're going through your spiritual awakening and you've been in spiritual circles enough, you will have heard this, and you will hear it a lot, that the biggest experience is that I have found people in the spiritual awakening community that's way bigger than the recovery community, that the longer you go and the more you self-inquire, you realize the less you know. The less you know, the less you're driven to get and to plan and to do what if contingency plans, the less you are comparing, the less you are in anxiety, the more you are present, the more you realize what? I don't know. Mm-hmm. And all the things that I thought should never happen to a person like me happened for me, I realized, because they forced me to look at some stuff and to awaken. And so maybe I don't know what my highest good looks like. And maybe I don't have to worry about what tomorrow is going to be, because tomorrow, Lisa, will be prepared to deal with tomorrow. And today, I have everything that I need. And so it's something that helps us to stay sober initially, helps us to be able to handle our sobriety just one day at a time. I don't have to drink today, I can drink tomorrow, right, kind of a thing, one day at a time. But it's also, it also recognizes that just for today, if I reach out to people in my recovery community when I need anything, I will have what I need. If just for today I am being honest with myself and with and seeking intuitively, I will have what I need. If I just do my very best one day at a time, just for today, I learned that the only time I didn't have what I needed was when I was all the way up in my head, telling myself scary stories and being anywhere but here.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, as you know, I just took 16 years. So, I was, as I was sharing with people and, talking about it, the thing that I say that I did well, the only thing I did perfectly over the last 16 years is not drink or use one day at a time. Mm. And for me, in the very beginning, that was so crucial, because I craved it so much. I had that physical craving for it, but today I can go without it. And in my health journey, with working out and eating right and all that stuff, just for today I can go without. Just for today I can do this, and I don't have to do it. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to do tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And that's always been such a big, monumental piece of my getting better. Is today I can do the next right thing, and tomorrow we'll see what happens.
It's so true, because we pull the rug out from under anything that we build up when we overwhelm ourselves. Mm-hmm. We tell ourselves what it's going to be, what it's going to take, and we talk ourselves out of doing the things. And we plan and we think big, and then we get overwhelmed and we scare ourselves, or we have these unrealistic expectations of ourselves and other people, and then we get disappointed and then we shut down. Yeah. When we are in our addiction, we tend to be like a roller coaster, we're either winning at the game of life or losing at the game of life. In any given moment, we are having bad days, bad weeks, rather than just moments where something is coming up to heal and, class is in session.
I feel like that's something that you've really given me over the last few years is like, when I'm having a bad day, you say, you're really going to throw away the whole day? like it's just a bad moment right now. Like, it's not like it doesn't have to ruin all the good experiences that have happened today, you know? Like, and that's something that, like, I feel like has kind of been clicking especially over the last couple years. That's something that we really need, you know? Like, something that we really need to, like, kind of hold on to is like, oh, well, the sunrise was beautiful this morning, or you know, this conversation with this person was great, or did you hear that cat purr? You know, like there's so many beautiful things that happen in a day, even when it's a bad day.
Yeah. So it is like, for me, it has been really seeing that life's in session and it's a classroom, and it's almost like when you go to school and you go one class at a time. You know, that nobody's expecting you to read the whole textbook and to know all the things and all in one day. And life is healing is a journey of one day at a time. It's we have this ritual of going to sleep at night, you know, and then waking up in the morning and setting our intentions for the day. And some of us meditate and some of us pray, and then going about our day. And, you know, and when something happens, being able to, like, stop and pause and contemplate what we could have done differently, or what we need to do to maybe make it right, and then to continue. And as we go one day at a time, and we learn to live in this chewable, totally livable one day at a time, we find that we have everything we need. We really do. Intuitively, we know where to go. People are around us that want our highest good. When we live one day at a time, we're more attractive to people who want to also live one day at a time. When we attract other people that want to be present and can listen. And so there's just so much to just one day at a time. So if you're new, you know, just know that you don't have to worry about doing anything for the rest of your life. Just allow yourself the luxury of letting yourself do it just for today. Yeah, for sure. Because that's really all we can, you know. One of the things that I remember early from with this particular slogan is people would say that today's is the present. It's a gift, right. Like, you know, and so, like, to hold on to that gift for today, you know. Or they would say, if you have one foot in the past and you have one foot in the future, that you're shitting on today. Yeah, that too. Or you're, like, one foot on one side of the fence and the other side of the other, and then you're, like, you have the fence between you. Anyway, so hey, we hear what we need to hear. Another slogan that's really good is, to thine own self be true. You know, when I was growing up, if I was to think of the concept of to thine own self be true, I felt like I was being true to myself. I felt like I was a survivor, and I felt like I was doing everything that I felt like I needed to do to be okay. But I had no idea what that meant. To thine own self be true is to actually, through self-inquiry and meditation and feeling into what the yes is, and, you know, really honoring the no, we find out what we really like, what we really feel about a thing, and we start to respect that, you know, and we are able to let other people have their own opinions and whatever like that, but we're not so easily swayed, because we need to be able to just be true to ourselves. And that process of honoring ourselves, I mean, just like with one day at a time and just for today, you know, we wanted to be anywhere but here. Right. You know, we wanted to be checked out. Yeah. And so anywhere but here, anytime but now, right? And then the anyone but me. You know, we either thought we were, you know, we were too much, we were better than, or we were less than. We couldn't just be true to ourselves and live and let live, kind of a thing. And so to thine own self be true has been just like this beautiful development of self-love and learning who I really am. Because when you're new to recovery, you don't know. Yeah. You have no idea who you are. Right. You've spent so much time probably trying to be someone else. Yeah. and checking out.
Yeah.
So how do you even know? You know, and a lot of times for me, my issue was not just what I put in my body. My issue was codependency. So I'd be anybody I need to be to get what I think I need, you know, to keep who I think I need in my life so I don't get abandoned. I had so much abandonment issues that what a long journey to thine own self be true.
I feel like for me, the bigger part of to thine own self be true was, like, you know, as I was learning different things, especially about God, like, you know, as I was learning these concepts and I was learning different ways of living, I thought of everything as, for lack of a better term, the gospel. You know, like everything. What, like, if someone
if it's
that
written in a book, it must be fact. If somebody's speaking
if this person with 50 years is saying this, it must be the most important thing that I've ever heard. Right. You know, like if this person wrote this and it's published and like people read it all over the world, it must be the most important thing I've ever read. And for me, like, actually, like, letting myself connect with God and be like, this is what I read. What is your truth? You know,
what resonates?
Yeah, and so that.
And then it becomes a more personal experience.
Well, and for me, to thine own self be true has another level of, is this what God wants for me? You know, like,
for your path,
for my path, for my truth, for my, because there's the big T and the little t, you know, like, is this my big T, you know? And so that was a big thing for me, was like really understanding what my truth is and where it lies. And
also to not get so fixed on it, because just because it's something that really resonates today and I have a certain amount of clarity about, okay, this is what feels right, this is my truth, but being open to more being revealed and finding out, you know what, that was just a surface, there was something underneath it. Now I have more clarity. Now I don't have to be so rigid in like what I believe. Right. You know, we're very undisciplined in certain ways. Even if we never lost our job, even if we were able to be super focused, and you know, when we are alcoholics or addicts, we could be very motivated and very persistent to do exactly what it is that we think we need. Our drive is to the self-destructive, but we're quite capable of accomplishing phenomenal feats and getting out of hairy situations. That if we were to apply all that in another direction, what an amazing amount of success we could possibly have. But you know, to thine own self be true, to really say, you know, right now, I always say current me. In fact, I make a joke about it, and we all laugh at the recovery store, because sometimes I'll find something and I open up some sort of purchase order or something like that, and I go, oh, I hope former me put this in or something.
Or you'll say, future me will thank me for this.
Yeah, future me will thank me for this. I always say that all the time. I go, you know what? I'm going to take time and I'm going to write myself a note so that, like a time capsule, future me will have a gift from current me, and she will be very happy with me.
Yeah, you say that a lot.
Because I know myself, you know, to thine own self be true, you know, like, I don't need to be somebody with this massive memory, like maybe somebody to my right, you know, like, I am me.
Yeah.
And there's so much self-love and acceptance in being able to work with, you know, bloom where I'm planted and work with where I'm at, you know, rather than trying to be anywhere but here, anybody but me, anytime but now, you know?
Yeah.
These slogans are so powerful. Another really good slogan is first things first. I just had a conversation about this last night with somebody who is talking about how he wants to stop vaping.
Okay.
And I told him, he said, you know, I had advice from somebody, he said, that within the first year of recovery to not try to stop vaping, that I'm going to be much more likely to stay sober. And I said, you know, there could be some truth to that, because whether or not, I don't think there's a specific amount of time, but we try to change too many things at the same time.
It's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. First of all, each of these things affects our brain chemistry.
Right.
and their coping skills.
Yeah.
And tools, right?
And habits.
And it's just, it could be too much, and so first things first asks you, what is the thing that's the most egregious? Start with that. If it's alcohol and drugs, start with that. If it's gambling, look at that next. If it's smoking, be willing to look at that next. But if it's food, and let me tell you, and this is actually true about Alcoholics Anonymous when it first started. I read about how they used to put chocolate on tables as they started having earlier meetings because people were coming off of alcohol. And it helped them to calm down. It helped them because the sugar from the alcohol was gone. And so
in rehabs you always find snacks. Like there's always little sugary whatevers for people coming off of opiates or different things that.
And so what can happen while people are doing that, which is, it's good to help them first things first, deal with alcohol and drugs as the primary first focus, is that people end up gaining some weight.
Yeah.
They call it recovery weight in the beginning, or they smoke cigarettes or they vape. And so the people who are smoking cigarettes and vaping, right, they may just pick it up, or they may have been doing it before already.
And they do it a lot more now.
And they do it more.
Yeah.
They do it more. And then also people who are eating, and they're more inclined to eat their feelings like I was. Although I smoked cigarettes in my recovery in the beginning and I ate.
Which amazes me that you ever smoked cigarettes.
For 10 years, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I actually started smoking cigarettes when I stopped smoking pot.
Wow.
I used cigarettes to help me get off of pot.
Wow. That seems backwards, but okay.
I did. There's a lot of things that pot was doing for me. I felt that cigarettes could be like the next thing, but cigarettes were extremely difficult for me to quit. I took 2 tries and I gave it everything I had, and I was like, wow, if it was that hard for me to get off cigarettes, like that, how hard it was helpful to me as my remembering my last drunk with my cigarettes to go, I don't want to do it. And I stopped before vaping even existed. I don't know what I would have done. Yeah. Because the rationalization and the justification, and I was smoking American Spirit, telling myself it was healthier. I could rationalize anything. So first things first, if you are new, it's about, really putting your recovery first. It's about saying, job or no job, wife or husband or no wife or husband, kids or no kids, health or no health. I mean, you need health, but I guess you need all of it. But first things first, I have to put my recovery first. Because if I don't, I am putting all of the rest of it at risk.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, is if you don't put the solution first, you're gonna lose all the other things. It's all gonna implode anyways. You definitely
you're eligible for a deeper bottom. There's a concept called YET, which is actually a slogan too. I haven't lost my car yet. I haven't lost my job yet.
I haven't been to jail yet.
I haven't been to jail yet. I am not homeless yet. I'm not sick yet. Whatever. And I still have my kids. I still have this, and da-da-da-da. And it says, well, yet can mean you're in, what does it go? You're eligible to. Yeah. You're eligible too then, because what you're basically telling yourself is, I don't have a problem. I don't have these things in my life. My bottom needs to look like I lose the house and the car and the kids and the health and the freedom. I need to lose all those things to do something different, which means I'm not going to stop until some of this stuff happens, which means that's my new trajectory. Yeah. And so it's so important to recognize, when we do recognize that we have a problem, how to prioritize in our life, because alcohol and drugs or whatever the behavior was our priority. Right. I mean, there's no way that if we're bottoming from alcohol and drugs that we put our family first. There's no way that we put our work first, our health first, our safety first, our freedom first, our kids first. There's no way. And so we have to do with our recovery the same thing we did with our affliction. We have to put it first. We have to, otherwise we won't reverse what's going on with the addiction and what's going on in our bodies.
Right.
And in our lives. You know, first things first, it's like you see it and you ask yourself, what does this mean to me? You know, first things first. I start my day in the morning and I think about my day, and there's a lot of things that I can and sometimes more so have to do that are super pressing for that day. And if I get up in my head, I can get really crazy. And so I have to meditate into my day and say, okay, you know, what are my priorities here? You know, and first things first, what resonates to do first? What resonates? Trusting that once I tackle the thing that resonates to do first, the next thing will be easier, and I will do it with a sense of peace. But if I do it from my head and I'm crazy, I'm reacting then, and I'm not having any peace at all. Mm-hmm. So, another one is progress, not perfection,
which is my favorite.
Okay, so share about it.
Well, I mean, it's my favorite, but it's also one that I can use incorrectly, because I could do something shitty and say, well, it's progress, not perfection. But I can also
excuse it.
Right, but I can also be a perfectionist and then realize it's progress, not perfection.
It's so interesting because I was such a perfectionist, and I had somebody ask me, so where's all the perfection?
Right.
You know, my ideals were based on this all or nothing, black or white thinking, which is so fear-based, because I believed that I wasn't safe unless I had everything. It's a form of OCD to be needing everything to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. You know, and I also was afraid of doing things because I feel like if I couldn't do it well, I wasn't going to do it at all. And to be able to start doing things and experiment in it and be able to make mistakes and to see the value of mistakes and how much that helps to have that attitude of just being progress, not perfection. You know, a lot of times we talk ourselves out of meditating because we tell ourselves, wow, this is so hard. I tried to meditate. I just can't do it. Mm-hmm. You know, or, you know, wow, you know, I tried to lose weight and I just can't do it, or on and on. And to live in progress, not perfection, is to allow ourselves to, if we are being honest with ourselves and really putting legitimate effort towards a thing, to be able to have self-love and patience and trust that as we go, because class is in session, we will learn more and be able to do better and level up as we go. But to have this black or white, all or nothing attitude that it needs to be perfect is toxic. It's toxic. It gives us unrealistic expectations of ourselves and other people. And expectations are what they say, premeditated resentment, which is another saying in recovery. And so I am going to be uncomfortable in my own skin based on trying too hard to be perfect.
Yeah.
And, you know, another really cool saying and slogan is, this too shall pass. That one statement helped me so many times because, you know, as you guys know, I've had complex PTSD. And so when you have PTSD, your interpretation of experiences has a lot more energy to it. And so I used to have big feelings about things, and things that happened that would maybe not affect another person would trigger something, and it would just be overwhelming to me. And I had such low self-esteem, and I was not trusting God, and I hadn't been through enough to really kind of be able to say, okay, you know what, I could do this one day at a time. And the idea of this too shall pass was a lifesaver for me, because I was able to say, you know, not that you would want to have to do this maybe for the rest of your life, but this is what's going on right now, and this is going to pass. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not going to last forever. Whatever it is that I'm dealing with in this moment is just my current situation in my classroom, and if I face it and walk through it, I will have a lot more freedom. Yeah. And this too shall pass has allowed me to have more trust in the process, because I can look back and I could say there's a lot of things that when I was in them, I thought there's no way I was going to get through them. But I did, and it worked out, and I actually learned things, and then I realized the benefit of having gone through it. And so it puts it into perspective, and it allows me the fortitude and the empowerment to be able to go through something, just saying, you know, at least this too shall pass.
Yeah. I think that for me, that wasn't a saying that I heard as much early on, but as, you know, as I got older and was in recovery longer, like, you know, I've seen a lot of bad things happen in recovery. Like, a lot of bad things happen with long-term recovery, and so, like, to have that idea of, like, this isn't the reality forever. Just like going back to the just for today, like, this isn't going to be the way things always are, and I can see that by the history of the things that I've come through, you know. And I feel like all these slogans and like all the things that we've talked about so far is a representation of that onion I'm always talking about, how we're like peeling apart the onion and like getting to the next layer. Like, this is just another layer of like, okay, so now we know it's just for today, or it's one day at a time. You know, now we know that it's progress, not perfection. Now we know that this situation is not the way this situation's always going to be. And so those kinds of things are pretty big for me in my, like, staying balanced.
Yeah, because it gives us a healthier attitude that, you know, I can handle this. I can handle this for today. What was really interesting, and I don't know how many years into my recovery this happened, but the script got flipped. And what happened is people started saying that this too shall pass was applied or applicable to good things too, like things I decided I liked, you know, and that I had to watch my attachments, that I had to watch how excited I got, because I was basing my serenity on something being a certain way. And it was dangerous for my peace of mind, because I would start being afraid of losing something. Like, the two biggest fears are not getting what I think I need, right? And losing what I think I need, losing what I think I have. And so, like, on the things that I felt like I had to trudge through, I was like, okay, this too shall pass. I'm going to make it through this, and I'm going to come out the other side of it. And then this too shall pass. Like, everything's temporary. Wear life like a loose garment. Don't get too attached to any particular thing being a certain way. And the reason why it's such a deep spiritual concept is that it allows me to be detached from these things enough to be able to be centered and to not base my serenity on something. Like, I'm very careful these days of the narrative I tell myself about something being good and something being bad.
Yeah.
I'm very careful about it, because I want to know, you know, that while the movie of my life is going, that I am being anchored into my true self and what feels like the next right thing on a deeper path that I'm on. And so
what's interesting about that is, you know, that concept of like, if you're following God's will, like if you're in a place where, like, you have a power greater than yourself and you follow that will, if you hold on to things like this, God can't give you any more. And so if you hold on to things like this, you know, God will take away.
And
but
for those of you on radio, she has her hand open.
My hands are open on the radio.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm on the screen. But yeah, for those of you, you know, like, if your fists are clenched, God can't give you any more. If your hands are open, then you can receive. So He might take away, but what He gives you is far better than what you could have ever imagined. And so
I feel like, for me, because I don't have a take away from me kind of give to me kind of experience intuitively. It's more like what I allow for myself too, that I don't push away, that I don't block, but also what is right for me, what is helpful for me, what is useful for me to be helpful in the world with. That if it's meant to be in my movie, if it's meant to be in my space right now, then it'll be there. And if it's not, that there's a reason for my highest good, for the path of it. You know, because I try not to get a material focus of having and not having. I try to just look at, trusting that if it's in my life, it's in my life for a reason, and if it's not, it's because maybe I don't need it. And if I don't need it, then maybe I could look at why I'm pining over it.
Right. Right.
The guy, the girl, the whatever, the thing, the shirt, the whatever. Like I could get attached to a thing, give it meaning it doesn't have, and then not have serenity. And so it's important to me. Please remember that the opinions expressed here are strictly those of the people who gave them and do not represent any 12-step program or should replace your own intuition or professional medical advice. At this time, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll see you in a bit. The meeting space is a facility with over 100 weekly recovery meetings for addiction from alcohol, drugs, sex, food, gambling, codependency, and PTSD. When someone is scared to go to their first meeting, we walk them through the process, ask them and answer questions to assuage their concerns. Many are court-ordered to attend, and we provide free court papers and teach them the process. Our glass-enclosed, soundproof children's playroom enables parents to be in a meeting while watching their children. We have healing workshops, craft fairs, and special authors who come to teach and sit with our fellowships. During COVID, we were declared an essential business by the County Commissioner's Office. We were kept open so that we can continue our daily work with traumatized chronic relapsers and those who would have used alcohol or drugs in isolation. Local businesses rent our space as well to financially help with this mission, and they get to have a great location for their business meeting or training. The recovery store in the center of our facility provides literature, clothing, medallions, and custom gifts to encourage, aid in, and celebrate a person's recovery from alcohol, drugs, PTSD, or unhealthy behaviors. Both the recovery store and the meeting space are open every day, including holidays. Saving lives, educating the community, reducing social stigma, providing a safe place for people to heal. Our nonprofit is supported entirely by donations by people like you, who want everyone to have a place to go to heal. Welcome back to the Real Recovery Show. We're talking about slogans today. The next slogan that we want to talk about is easy does it, but do it. Sometimes... But do it. When we first...
I've never heard that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never heard the but do it part.
That's interesting. Maybe you didn't want to do it.
I didn't want to do it, I guess. I don't know. That's new to me.
That's so funny. Yeah, so there has to be some sort of balance. We can't be pushing too hard and stressing ourselves, trying to heal faster and do better at work and everything, and get through our own healing work and our writing and whatever our process is. We have to take it easy, but we can't take it too easy and rest on our laurels and use it to avoid facing our stuff and healing, because healing takes work. And while we might have been afraid of the work and afraid of the feelings, which is why we didn't want to look at anything and why we wanted to just stay numb, easy does it but do it helps us to kind of tune in and go, be honest with ourselves and say, all right, just for today, progress not perfection. I am going to do the best I can, but I am not going to hurt myself in the process. And for somebody who was extremely intense like I was a steamroller. I mean, I pushed myself and I could not take it easy. And my health was affected by that too. Yeah. My relationships, my work, everything. But easy does it, but do it. Relax, let go. But pay attention and do what you need to do. Do the next right thing.
Yeah, this is blowing my mind, this but do it thing. There's saying in the church, come as you are, but don't stay that way.
Ooh, I like that.
And so that just like kind of like blew up in my head, you know, like
I love that. I never heard that before. I've heard God loves you where you're at, but he loves you too much to keep you there.
To keep you there, yeah. But yeah, and that's the same idea of like this, like, you know, we do need growth and change and, you know, direction, but we don't need to kill ourselves in doing that. You don't want to, or I don't want to alienate everything that I'm working to protect in order to get better. You know, like like there has to be a balance, and that's a big, like when I first started like seeking help, it was with a therapist, and she would always talk about how I didn't have balance, how I didn't have like talk about a scale and how I was like bloop, like, you know, like I was never balanced on the scale. And I feel like that's been the hardest thing for me to find, you know, is this like balance thing, because like when we get things, we want to like hold on to them, which we were just talking about, and we want to like get more things, but there's this balance of it, you know, of how to get healthier and how to do it in a way that doesn't harm you or anyone that you're trying to be healthy for.
It's also tempting to get very stressed out in trying to do any kind of writing portion of our recovery, you know, and take ourselves way too seriously and push way too hard and bring ourselves into more of an uncomfortability in our own skin than maybe we need to experience and risk our sobriety, which is not an excuse or like an invitation to dial it all the way back and I'm just, you know, easy does it, so I'm not going to do the work because, you know, I just don't want to, like, feel the feeling or something, and it's just not good for me. But easy does it, but do it. It's just a good gauge to be honest with myself. Am I focused on the solution? Am I really doing what the next right thing is? Am I putting myself into my recovery, into my healing? But am I also trusting in the whole process, in leaning on other people, letting myself have more self-love, learning to have more self-love and stuff like that. So easy does it, but do it.
That's cool.
And then there's KISS, right?
Keep it simple, stupid.
Or keep it simple, sweetie.
Or silly.
Or silly. Oh, I never heard silly.
Yeah.
I heard sweetie and I heard stupid. You know, keep it simple, stupid. You know, it's just keep it simple. Take it one step at a time, one day at a time, first things first. Just keep it simple. Because we are people who can make anything complicated.
Yeah, we can.
Anything. And I think that's part of the design of avoidance, is to make it such a hard thing to do by making it so complicating, by overthinking it, that it gives us the impetus to just not do it.
I feel like you tell me that all the time, is to not make things so complicated.
Yeah, me too. I do. Well, I don't tell you, but I invite you to not do that. I'm like, all right, just get to the point.
Why is it so complicated?
You're making a whole big story about this, and you don't know any of that to be true. Just keep it simple. Yeah, for sure. I know you're going to like this next one.
Okay.
Attitude of gratitude.
Yeah. I mean,
you're starting to.
I'm trying.
She's been writing a gratitude list every morning.
Yeah, it took me 16 years, but I got there.
You know, there's a lot to be said for focusing on problems too much and focusing on what I don't have and focusing on the things I did that I haven't forgiven myself for, or you know, or maybe something I just lost. You know, there's such, the mind is this so powerful, and it magnifies, and our thoughts have effect. If I tell myself I don't have enough, I will experience my life as if I don't have enough.
Well, and you get those old tapes too. You know, like that like all of a sudden you're like reliving like this thing that happened 20 years ago as if it's today, when today's situation is completely different. you know?
True, but the interpretation of the past is being replayed now, not the thing itself.
Right, exactly.
So even then, it wasn't what it was.
That's true,
even
too.
then, it was an interpretation of it.
Right.
That had that same kind of thinking, that same kind of like, I don't have enough, I'm too much, this is not okay. The interpretation from the perspective of glass half empty.
Right.
Right? And then we switch to glass half full. And again, the attitude of gratitude, we have to be careful that we are not grateful for things being a certain way.
Right.
Because if we are then grateful for things being a certain way, now our serenity again is being dependent upon things being a certain way for us to be okay.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous.
Yeah.
If I tell myself, I'm so grateful that I have this person in this way in my life, and I'm so grateful I have this job and this house and this whatever, and because other people don't have this, but I'm so glad I do, and I don't know if I could be sober if I didn't have this.
Right.
I don't know if I could be happy if I didn't have this. I am connecting my mental well-being to something that this too shall pass.
Right.
It's going to be temporary. I'm not always going to live in the same house. I'm not always going to have the same situation.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be setting myself up for some future pain and suffering.
Yeah.
That I don't need to have.
Right.
If I could just appreciate. So how this looks, I could be grateful for the house. I could be grateful for the relationship. I could be grateful for whatever it is in my life. But how I'm grateful for it is, again, like I said before, I am grateful because I trust that it's in my life for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
That it's in my life for a reason, and it's for my highest good.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful. Thank you for providing everything that I need so I can move about this world and I can be empowered and helped, and I can keep focusing on healing and releasing and being more helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I could be grateful for all of it now without being so focused and materialistic or needing things to be that specific way for me to be okay. And I'm not perfect at this. It's progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
But I could tell when I'm not.
Yeah.
Because something will start to make me feel like, oh, I don't have that, or oh, whoops, I don't want to, I'm protective over it. Something's happening, and I become Smeagol in whatever way, and I'm like, from Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, my precious. My precious. Whoops. Oh my God. So this is my dog does not like Smeagol. There. Come here. Sit. So anyway, attitude of gratitude.
Well, what I was gonna say something that I've kind of learned recently that I think is kind of cool is if I am in a place where I'm not in that attitude of gratitude and I write that gratitude list, I can kind of start my day over, which is a concept, right? Mm-hmm. My friend Nan always says that joy is a choice. Mm. And, I agree. And so for me to make that choice of being in gratitude, even if my circumstances, in my opinion, don't warrant it, my opinion doesn't matter in that moment, And I think your opinion does matter, but it matters in a way to say, this is the narrative I have running. It's not the reality necessarily of the situation. That's what I mean.
But I would like to have a different perception.
Right.
And by being willing to be grateful, to see where maybe everything is we're not just grateful then for the things that we think we want. We actually become grateful for things we don't want too.
Right.
We recognize that, wow, this must be happening for a reason. There must be something in me that needs to heal. There must be something going on that this is helping me. And I kind of think of it like the military, where maybe a person isn't disciplined to be able to work well in a team. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're not physically in shape. And to go through all of that discipline can be really, really hard on a person.
Right.
And so I think of it like that. I think in some ways I have shortcomings that need to be brought up and developed, and I have defects that need to be replaced by a better tool, an asset that I have programming that needs to be questioned. Mm-hmm. And so to be really grateful, not how I'm so excited, I'm having this thing come up to heal, but really appreciate, go, if you've brought me to it, you're going to bring me through this.
Yeah.
And I can take this one day at a time. And I am so interested to see what's on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So gratitude becomes an abundance-oriented, solution-oriented, trust-building exercise.
Yeah.
Whereas while we are believing that we're separate, that we don't have what we need, we're disconnected from each other, we're disconnected from ourselves, we're disconnected from whatever higher power concept works for us. If we spend that kind of time in there, we are in our disease, our dis-ease. And whether or not we ever pick up a drink or a drug or anything, we will be so not right in ourselves. And how interesting that it all comes down to perception.
Yeah.
That we can have a totally different view and have a completely different experience of the same thing.
Right.
The same people, the same stage, the same scenery, the same events, and we come from a more gracious, tolerant place because we are filling our own cup rather than browbeating ourselves and telling ourselves that we don't have what we need. I'm telling you, these slogans, they start off and they'll help you with certain things, and you'll be like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
There's no way life could get better.
Right.
But as you go on, these circle back around, and then you start to realize, wow, this is really a deep concept.
Yeah.
And it goes deeper and deeper and deeper because these are spiritual truths.
And it's more applicable than just not drinking today.
Exactly.
Like, you can use it in so many different areas of your life.
So there's the whole concept of self-pity versus, empowerment, and humility, versus humiliation. There's this cute saying that I love that's pour me another drink.
Yeah.
And what I love is that if you feel sorry for yourself long enough, if you are magnifying all your little problems enough, what they say that it's like pole vaulting over mouse turds.
I've never heard that either.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Oh my God, I love that one. It's like, yeah, we pole vault over mouse turds.
Yeah.
We make something that's so insignificant.
So huge.
So huge.
Yeah. Definitely making mountains out of molehills.
It's like picking something on your face that is like only you could see, and only you could see with like a magnifying mirror. And then picking it until people on moon can see it.
Yeah, until it's all
so
red
it's like,
and infected.
Hi,
and like,
how you doing?
Yeah.
But that's what we do.
Yeah.
We pick at our life. We make something that is so small and chewable into the whole focal point of our day. And like you said earlier, learning to not throw your whole day away because of one thing that you're expecting or attached to not going your way.
Right.
It's like being able to come from gratitude and get out of your own way and trust gratitude. True gratitude is surrender. True gratitude is trust. It's letting go. So I'm telling you, this just gets, and I'm sure I'm going to learn more as I go.
Oh, for sure.
Like, as I go and as more stuff comes up to heal, I know I'll learn more because I want to.
Right.
I want to learn more. I was at a recovery event, and I was one of the speakers last night, and somebody asked a question. And it was kind of like a, people ask questions, people answer type thing, right? And one of the questions was, how do you get to long-term recovery? Like, what do you have to do that can get you to be more likely to stay sober a long time? And the speaker before me shared about how important it is to work with others. And of course, right? Of course. But I really felt to add to it. And so I said, you have to remain teachable. You have to. There are people with 20, 30, 40 years of sobriety who are miserable because they had this idea. It's kind of like when you first get sober or clean, you go, oh my God, wouldn't it be nice if I could just do all this, and then maybe one day I can drink or use drugs again like a normal person, and then you have to eventually get to a place where you're like, I never drank or did drugs like a normal person.
Well, I mean, honestly, that statement, like, who wants to
do that? Who wants to drink and put it down? So, but it's just like that saying. What the idea that one day you'll be done and you don't have to look at yourself anymore, that you don't have to learn anymore. And
why would you want that? Why would you not want to grow?
So a lot of people don't.
Okay.
Because the perception of growing is painful. The perception of growing is negative still. And that's true for a lot of people who are new and people who have that attitude, I'll do this work, but I'm not going to like it. And maybe I'll get something out of it and I'll say that I did it, but I'll come for relief, but I won't come for recovery, because recovery is about getting to a place where I want to learn more. I want to actually heal. I want to let go of more. That it's a journey, like you would always say. It's an onion, and we're peeling layers. And as we go, more is revealed. And what's so powerful about that is that my attitude went from resistance to fear of my own feelings, to fear of facing myself, that I was going to find that I was really the piece of that I thought I was.
Yeah.
I was terrified to, man, this is a lot, because I had a lot of PTSD, so I had a lot of stories, I had a lot of resentments, I had a lot of stuff to heal. And having along the way a shift, my first mentor said, she called them AFGOs. She said, another fucking growth opportunity. And so it was to be cute. It was to laugh. It was to make light of it, because when you have a lot going on, it could be overwhelming when you haven't done enough recovery on yourself to be able to have that kind of inner peace and to have all that loud noise quiet, and to feel like you can live life on life's terms. And so to really see growth, then to go through a transition and to see growing as something you want, that no matter what, there are things that are just not feeling like they're working in your life, and so you want to go deeper. You want to be free of it. You don't want to have reactions. It's not okay with you to have resentments. I don't ever have road rage, ever. And I haven't for many, many years. Yeah. But I have seen people in recovery, who have stopped working on themselves, who are no longer in a humble place. And so how do we do that? So we work with other people, but while we are working with whoever it is that we're helping to heal, and helping them through the process and sharing our own experience, strength, and hope, we are there learning with them, because they're going to say things, or things are going to get said through us that are going to make us go, huh. Yeah. I always have ahas when I'm teachable. Right. When I'm willing to be humble enough to recognize that, we're all people. We're all bozos on the bus. We're all here because we're not there. We're not all there, right? We're all here because we're not all there. We all have something to heal, all of us. And that's not just limited to recovery community. That's the whole world. Right. And so while everybody needs to be right, while everybody needs to be defensive, while everybody wants to hold their story of themselves and not want and resist growing, then things happen and they don't have that sense of peace. Yeah. And so I said to this group, I said, and mainly because there was so many people that were new, and I said, don't be that person. Always remain teachable. Yeah. Because it's your life. Yeah. And you're the one that could stop it from being the life that you could really live. You're the one that could do that. You could be that person who's dry years later. And the number doesn't matter. I have 24 years clean and sober off of drugs and alcohol. But if I decided I'm done, meaning I don't have anything else to heal, I would be full of it, by the way. Be full of it. Then I would go back, take my sense of self back again, and undo some of what brings me peace. We need humility to get out of the way and really speak from that intuition. Yeah. We need humility to not think we know better about what another person needs for their life and try to run their life. You know, we need to stay teachable, and we need to trust in that, you know, everybody has what they need, and that if we stay open and honest with ourselves, that we can too. We can keep experiencing ahas and freedom.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so I guess at this point we'll stop.
Right.
We have a lot to say on the slogans, so we have decided that we decided this on the break, that we will do another episode on this, because there's so much. And this is the kind of show that I would have loved to have when I was new, because I didn't know what any of this stuff meant. People would say these things to me, or I would see them on posters and stuff, but I didn't actually know what they meant. And it would have been nice. It would have been nice to be able to know. So please remember, you can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, and on Amazon Fire TV. You can listen to us on the PHLV radio app, or you can get our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can see all of our episodes on themeetingspace.com, where it links all of our episodes that are on YouTube. And and if you're thinking about being on a future episode, definitely come see us by going to themeetingspace.com and clicking on an intake form, and then letting us know. The opinions were expressed here are strictly those of GAME, does not represent a 12-step program at all. We are here representing our own recovery. We're both in long-term recovery and just sharing our experience, strength, and hope. So thank you for joining us, and thank you PHLV Radio for having us, and we'll see you next week.